Hey everyone, this is Bridgette Raes, and I'm back with another stylish tip for you this week. I'm actually recording it for the second time today because apparently today is officially Technology Hates Bridgette Day. Yes, my website went down earlier today, which is always lovely. And then I had some technical difficulties getting my video that I recorded earlier from my iPad onto YouTube. So I was kind of stuck just recording it again. I just cut all my losses, and apparently technology just isn't my friend today. And it's always the days where you're like, I don't have time for this. I'm like racing against the clock. I don't need technology issues. Anyway, so I'm just going to record it again. So what I wanted to touch on this week was shopping, in particular, how to be effective when you do it. I get asked this a lot because it's part of what I do for a living. I shop with clients, I shop for clients, I help them learn to become better shoppers, and I want to share some of my tips with you because some of you may not be able to hire your own stylist to help you navigate the stores. So what are some of the things that that I do that maybe you could adopt for yourself? So the first thing that you need to know is that most women out there really dislike shopping. I think it's a myth, the whole shop till you drop thing. It kind of, I think, makes a lot of women who really don't enjoy the process feel like there's something terribly wrong with them. And what I want to first assure you is if you don't enjoy shopping, or if it's not your favorite pastime, you're actually quite the norm. I think that women have been basically led to believe that this is something that we should all enjoy. And I'll tell you, you're in really good company if you don't enjoy shopping. It's never been my favorite pastime, as you learned from my mom who joined me a couple of weeks ago. It's like one of her favorite things to do, and it's probably one of the reasons why I never really loved it that much. But I also think it's what makes me an effective shopper, and why I'm so good with my clients, because I really do look at it like it's a task that we need to be effective at, versus it just being something that I'd like to spend my entire weekends doing. So I want to give you some of my tips. So the first thing that you need to keep in mind if you want to be a good shopper is to have some form of a plan in place. And what I mean by that is not just having, a list of things that you need. I mean, obviously that's important. Going through your closet prior is obviously a really crucial step because it gives you a sense of your needs, and you can make a list and you can have all of those things on hand so that you're clear on what you need. But there's something else that you need to be clear about as far as needs go, and that is having an idea of what it is that you want your image and style to communicate. When I meet with a client, it's not only important to clean out their closet and to really get that sense of what their needs are, but to really understand what a client's personal or professional goals are. What does she want next in her life? Our personal style and image is such a strong communicator. It's one of the strongest forms of communication that we have, that you don't want to miss out on this awesome opportunity to have your wardrobe speak to what it is that you want to say to the world. So in addition to knowing nuts and bolts of what you need when you go shopping, like a new pair of shoes or a great new blazer, you also want to think about, well, what exactly do I want to communicate? And there's no right or wrong answer to that. I've had some clients where it's about being a better dressed mom, to other clients who are going for a huge job change. These are the things that you really want to think about, because what can happen when you're not clear on this is you begin to wishful wardrobe, which if you watch my videos, you know what wishful wardrobing means. It means dressing for the life you want, not the life you have, and loading up your closet with things you really don't need. Now, as far as when you go shopping, the next thing I want to tell you is you need to be focused about it. This needs to be a task that you're making time for. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using shopping as a fun little pastime if you're killing some time between appointments, or you're on your way home and you just want to pop into a store because you need some retail therapy. That's all good and fine, but I wouldn't go into those situations expecting that this is where you're going to be the most effective. I think one of the reasons why I can be so effective with my clients is because we set aside the time. This is what we're going to be doing, versus it just sort of being haphazard. So if you really want to be effective with shopping, you need to schedule it into your life. You need to schedule it into your day or your week or whatever. You need to have it be something where this is what I'm going to do, versus it just being, again, something that you just sort of randomly stroll in. I think a lot of women, very, very often when I'm with a client and we have a few minutes to spare, if it's waiting at a register or waiting for shoes to be brought to us, I'll look around and notice women shopping, and it's a lot of grazing and, oh, pick this up and maybe this, and they just have no real sense of purpose. And then they get frustrated that they can't find anything to buy or wear. You know, they can't find anything to try on. Oh, there's nothing here. Well, it's kind of like going to the gym, right? And saying, well, you know, I'm going to go to the gym. I may pedal for a few minutes on the bike, and I don't know, maybe I'll lift this dumbbell a couple of times, then getting frustrated when you get back that you're not losing any weight or you're not getting any fitter. It's the same thing. So the next thing is to have a purpose when you go shopping. Don't waste your time. I mean, speaking for myself, I certainly don't have the time to just randomly walk around and not use my time effectively, and I'm sure you don't either. The next thing to keep in mind is to load up the dressing room. In a lot of respects, being effective when you shop has so much more to do with it being a numbers game, essentially. I think part of the reason why I'm so successful is I will pull so much into a dressing room. In most cases, I pull for a client prior to the session, usually the day before, and the next day there's a whole entire rolling rack of clothing waiting for them. And I think a lot of women, you know, you pull 1, 3, 5, maybe things into a dressing room, and then you get incredibly frustrated that none of them work. So don't be afraid to take in more, have them be abysmal failures, and let them go. Your chances of success are much higher when you do that. But again, it shouldn't just be like random, like, well, I'm just going to throw it all in the dressing room and, you know, and let the cards fall where they may. I mean, when I pull for a client, it's not just I'm blindly pulling things and saying, well, maybe we'll throw some spaghetti against the wall and maybe a couple of things will work. I go through a whole mental process before anything gets pulled into a dressing room. And a couple of the things I do, which you can do for yourself, is you can look at an item and, you know, the first thing ask yourself is this in line with who I am, my style, what I want to achieve, what I want to communicate? Okay, yes, it passed that test. Is this right for my personal coloring? Is this right for my physical characteristics? You may not know immediately with some things, they're worth trying on, but sometimes you can tell immediately. Like for me, if I see a halter top, I'm like, yeah, beautiful, but never in a million years will a halter top work for me. So that, you know, makes the cut. And then I picture the client, like, where would she be going in this? How would she be wearing this? What would she be doing with it? Does she own something that would work with this? So there's this whole mental checklist that goes through my head, and it doesn't take long. I go through those in a couple of seconds, boom, 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 and it gets pulled that way. So I think if you run things sort of through some kind of that mental quick checklist, where am I going? What am I doing with it? Is it right for me, my body, and my physical characteristics? Does it really communicate what I want to say? Do I need it? You know, I mean, if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're like, okay, this is going to be my 16th pair of stilettos, I don't really need them, even though they're gorgeous. It's easier to be discerning. So do I really need to have this particular item? So that's what you want to ask yourself too. But really, don't be afraid to load up, because I think that women are sometimes a little embarrassed. And if you saw me pre-shopping for clients, I mean, the next day, I'm not kidding you, my arms will be tired from holding everything that I hold to bring to a dressing room. I, in fact, got a bruise on my hand from carrying a whole floor, department store floor of clothes on the hangers on my hand. So, you know, no one's gonna, who cares? Like, if someone's gonna laugh at you, you know what, the joke's on them. They're bringing 3 things into the dressing room and they're failing. I mean, that's, who, you know, who's the fool? So, you know, don't be embarrassed about bringing a lot in. You know, as far as making mistakes go, I make them all the time with clients. I've brought stuff into the dressing room and we've both tried it on. I mean, they've tried it on and we've both laughed hysterically at some of the choices. Like, okay, thought maybe that would work. That's horrible. Oh my God, that's disastrous. And we have a really good laugh. I'd rather fail, in the dressing room by trying it versus not trying it at all. So don't be afraid to load up. And also to always bring the size down and the size up from what you think you would wear, because that's a huge time suck. And it also turns a lot of women off when you go into the dressing room and you try something on and you're like, if I only had the next size up, and there's no salesperson to help you, and you have to put your clothes back on, go look for the size, bring it back in, get it undressed. How many times have you just passed it up altogether because you're like, that process is just way too tiring? So, it's just good to just have it. Just bring the size. And with me, with clients in particular, especially clients that I'm just getting to know, they may tell me they're a 6, but I'm going to pull that 8 and I'm going to pull that 4, because many times, they'll tell me they think they're a certain size and they're much smaller or they're much larger. So it's important to just, and there's no size standardizations in fashion. So you never know what size you're going to wear with whom. So that's an important thing. As far as getting help from salespeople, there's a little trick to that too. Most stores, forget it. The only thing salespeople seem good for is like maybe folding clothes and offering you, if you open a credit card with them, they'll offer you 10% off. It seems like that's all they're equipped to do these days. But there is a way to get some help. And I think by loading up your arms with a lot of stuff, you're definitely going to draw attention to yourself, and you definitely can get them paying attention. But the next thing that you want to do if they show you to a dressing room is say to them, okay, I'm going to put all the discards outside the door. I'm going to hang them on the door or whatever. If you could swing by, they'll be on the door. And when they swing by to take some things away, you can ask them for another size if you need it. So it keeps them close by, versus no one there and then you have to get dressed and all that stuff. So I usually find that. And most times the salesperson, when they see you with a lot of stuff, they think, okay, she's serious. She really, she's here to shop, and they may want to help you more. So that's something else to keep in mind. So really, there's no big secret to, being effective. It really is about setting aside the time, being clear on your needs, not only from the physical actual wardrobe needs, but your needs as far as what you want to communicate to others with your wardrobe, and not being afraid to try and pull, and also having a very clear mental checklist in your head with everything you pick up, and say, I'm going to run it through this filter first. Do I need it? Where am I going in it? What am I going to wear with it? Does it flatter my body? And get it in there and try things on. And if you want to break down in tears, which we all have at least once, don't run out the door. And give yourself that room to just keep trying and keep trying. And the last thing is objectivity. If that's something that you feel you struggle with as far as shopping goes, you can bring someone with you. I will admit I'm a much better shopper for others than I am for myself. So a lot of times we sometimes just need someone else helping us through it to help us see ourselves better than maybe we see ourselves. So that's another tip to keep in mind. So that's my tip for the week as I record it for the second time, because technology is not on my side today. If you have a question for me, you can always find me at bridgetteraes.com and comment on this video. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Bridgette Raes Style Expert, and all other social media channels. It's always at Bridgette Raes, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and all of the rest of them. You'll probably find me. Have a really great week, and I'll talk with you next week.